If anybody who's outside the room could try to come in.
There's a vacant seat up here to the left of the podium.
Did you eat tonight?
It's three.
Three seats up in the corner.
Just in case. Oh, yeah.
All right, we'll get started.
Hey, welcome to the Board of Aldermen this evening, folks. This is a public hearing that we're going to have this evening relative to a citizen petition that's been filed in accordance with paragraph 8.1 of our city charter, which allows 50 voters to petition the Board of Aldermen to hold a public hearing on an issue that they wish to put before us. The way the public hearing will be conducted is we will ask people one at a time to come to the center of the room. I'd ask you to sign your name and your address on the sign-in sheet. Under our rules, no person is allowed to speak for more than 10 minutes. And I would ask you, as we start, for everybody to be respectful so that everybody who's here gets a fair chance to be heard relative to any opinion. I know some of the issues in our country now are somewhat contentious, but here at this meeting tonight, what we want to do is have a good civil dialogue relative to the order that is before us. That all being said, Ms. Camoso, could you please read the order for us?
The full letter?
Yes, please, the petition.
Petition to adopt a policy to make Melrose a sanctuary city. Honorable members of the Board of Aldermen, enclosed is a free petition as described in Section 8-1 of the City of Melrose Charter, which petition contains 223 original signatures of registered voters of the City of Melrose and, in most cases, their street addresses, and which seeks passage of a measure which would require Melrose to adopt the following policy. No officer or employee of the Melrose Police Department may arrest or detain an individual solely on the basis of a civil immigration detainer or an administrative warrant. No officer or employee of the Melrose Police Department may continue to detain an individual solely on the basis of a civil immigration detainer or an administrative warrant once that individual has been released from local custody. Nothing in this policy shall limit the exchange of information regarding citizenship or immigration status as permitted by federal law. The signatories to the petition respectfully request that the Board of Aldermen hold a hearing as required by Section 8-1, not later than 6 weeks after the filing of the petition with the city clerk. Thank you for your consideration. Very truly yours, Patricia A. DeAngelis, 33 West Hill Ave.
Thank you. And the signatures were certified by the election office to make sure that there were 50 people who were registered voters who signed. And as we get going tonight, if you could come forward, state your name, sign on to the petition. And the other thing, for those of you who have never been to one of our meetings before, this is our opportunity to hear from the public. So sometimes people come in who've never been here before to one of our meetings and they think that we're going to have a back and forth discussion with you. And what we're doing tonight is a public hearing where we're only listening to your input. So frequently people ask us questions and get offended if we don't immediately answer, and we can't because it's a public hearing. This is the public's opportunity to speak on this order. So who would like to kick it off and speak? Anyone who come to the podium, please? Anybody who wants to come forward. Folks, you can remain seating if you want. We're going to stay here until everybody has an opportunity to be heard.
Good evening. My name is Manisha Butra. I live at, I don't know if I state that. I live on Grove Street. I'm here representing the Human Rights Commission. I currently serve in the capacity of Vice Chair. Chair Adam LaFrance could not be here tonight, so I'm serving in his place. And with me are fellow Human Rights Commissioners. Thank you for holding this hearing, and thank you to the petitioner and all those who signed for bringing this to a public hearing. You may have seen that we issued a statement recently in support of declaring Melrose a sanctuary city. The statement incorporates on the first page our authority as the Human Rights Commission to to take this position. I won't read through all of that. It's, referencing our part of the City of Melrose City Code. I'll skip to page 2, and I have extra copies which I can distribute after I speak. So,
Actually, not to interrupt you, but
do you want-
any correspondence that we've received from city officials or citizens to the Board of Aldermen has been made a part of the record of
Okay,
these proceedings.
excellent. The motto of the City of Melrose is "One Community, Open to All." While the city already operates as a sanctuary city with respect to its law enforcement practices, the Melrose Human Rights Commission, which is made up of 11 Melrose residents appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the Board of Aldermen, finds that declaring and designating Melrose as a sanctuary city is critical to upholding the city motto. This statement is intended to signal to anyone who feels targeted by hateful rhetoric and is fearful of living openly that our community denounces hatred and welcomes all. This commission, having heard from the people of Melrose, and after careful consideration of the concerns regarding such a declaration, finds that one community open to all cannot ring true unless we foster a cultural climate in which the very uniqueness and traditions of all people are shared and celebrated freely, helping us all to weave the mosaic that truly makes Melrose great. Cultivating an appreciation for diversity cannot happen when there are members of our community who are afraid to publicly share their values and traditions for fear of persecution and afraid to leave their homes and disclose their existence for fear of being detained. Formally designating Melrose a sanctuary city will help to ensure that all people who visit, work, or reside in Melrose feel included, valued, and free, which is the true measure of a city that lives up to the promise of one community open to all. As Mayor Dolan stated at the Melrose Human Rights Commission International Welcome Potluck in November 2016, we as a community must encourage standing up for the vulnerable, but also standing up to ourselves and confronting our own fears and insecurities. We must remain faithful to the words on the Great Seal of the United States, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. History will judge where we stood at this pivotal moment in our city's progress. The words of Martin Luther King Jr. still ring true today. History will have to record that the greatest tragedy of this period of social transition was not the strident clamor of the bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people. Given the duty of this commission to uphold the human rights of all persons in Melrose, so as to cultivate an atmosphere of mutual understanding, to promote goodwill, minimize discrimination, and promote understanding of diverse cultures, and for the reasons cited herein, it is the recommendation of this commission to the Board of Aldermen of the City of Melrose that it support designating Melrose a sanctuary city.
Thank you. Sir.
Good evening. My name is Paul Crowley. I don't have prepared remarks, so I'm going to be definitely winging this, but I find the whole idea of declaring Melrose a sanctuary city troubling, and the people that want to declare it a sanctuary city don't even have the courage of their convictions to call it that. My experience has been, such as it is, and I can only speak for myself, is that I'm concerned, this is not a political issue, but I am concerned from both a matter of economics. As a 42 years resident of Melrose with my wife, we had 3 boys that went through the Melrose school system. It's a matter of economics to me and a matter of public safety. From everything that I've have seen, any place that seems has a reputation as being a good place to hide, and this has nothing to do, in my mind, civil rights or treating people equally. I don't want to see Melrose turn into situations that I see like when I go to Lynn, Lawrence, Everett, even Somerville, and I own property in Somerville, and they're a sanctuary city, and the real estate property values have been affected. I don't want to see anybody persecuted. I don't want to see anybody picked on or anything, but I also don't want to have this city be represented by people that come here just knowing it's a good place to hide and get off the radar. And anytime I've seen anything with any sanctuary cities, it hasn't been a lot of good things happening. And again, I'm not interested in persecuting anybody. I just don't want to see a haven for people that we don't want in this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Arnold Koch. I live on Cranmore Lane. I agree with the mayor that designated Melrose a sanctuary city is counterproductive, a hyper-political term that could cause division in the community and focus attention on the people the petition aims to protect. In my opinion, creating a Melrose sanctuary city is a faulty solution in search of a problem. Deportation of illegal aliens is not a recent issue. An article in the Sunday Globe magazine by Neil Swidey points out that President Obama presided over a massive deportation of immigrants with criminal records, some with just traffic violations. Where were the demonstrations and petitions for sanctuary cities then? 3 final points. First, I doubt that owning a home in a sanctuary city would be a plus. Chances are the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, will target sanctuary cities that refuse to cooperate with the federal law. Cities that want to keep their illegal aliens probably can keep them, but lose their federal grants. For a community trying to avoid an override, that's not a good outcome. Second, local attorneys representing illegal aliens under threat of arrest by ISIS in a sanctuary city will be more in demand than before at the expense of others in longer need of assistance. Finally, the Melrose Free Press website carried a statement by some Melrose clergy supporting the sanctuary city designation. In case anyone thought they were speaking for their congregation, they were not. Unfortunately, some people did. As one clergy told me, quote, "We each signed as individuals. Congregation affiliation is for information purposes only." As they say, perception is reality. Do we really want to protect an image of Melrose beyond our borders? Like Professor Harold Hill would say, that there's trouble in River City? I think not. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Stacy Lanier. I'm the pastor of First United Methodist Church, and I offer this letter, which has been signed by a number of other clergy members in the city. As leaders of faith communities in Melrose, we support efforts to add the city of Melrose to the over 300 sanctuary jurisdictions in our nation. We affirm and we applaud the police department's current practices, which protect individuals from harassment, arrest, or detention based on their immigration status, and we encourage the department to create policies which formalize these practices. As people of faith, we affirm the worth, dignity, value, and rights of all persons, regardless of their race, religion, nationality, or immigration status. Immigrants and their children are important and valued members of our community. We denounce the rise of xenophobic, racist, and violent reactions against immigrants in some places, and we support efforts in our city to build relationships among people of diverse ethnicities and cultures. We call upon our elected officials to continue to make Melrose a safe and welcoming place, and to put into place policies which will assure our residents that Melrose is truly one city open to all. And this is signed by myself, Stacy Lanier, First United Methodist Church, Reverend Beth Horn of the Highland Congregational Church, Reverend Dr. Anita Farber Robertson from the Melrose Unitarian Universalist Church, Reverend Esther Bowen, who is a chaplain, Reverend Dominic Taranowski, First Congregational Church, Rabbi Arnie Fertig, Temple Beth Shalom, and Reverend J. Libby, a chaplain associated with the Melrose Unitarian Universalist Church. Thank you.
Thank you. And as everybody comes in, could you please remember to sign in on the sign-in sheet, please?
My name is Peter Giannino. I live at 570 Lebanon Street here in Melrose. I've been a resident here for 60 years. I am wholeheartedly opposed to this proposal. I think is un-American, probably unconstitutional, and I don't understand why people don't understand the word illegal. There are, they can sugarcoat the name with undocumented aliens, but they are illegal aliens. It is also unfair to all of those legal immigrants who had to get in line and wait for months and months and pay a lot of money to get that green card and to legally come here. So it is greatly unfair to them. And I think that summarizes what my views are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Fraser Horry, and with me is my wife Diane. We reside on West Highland Avenue and have been Melrose residents for over 23 years. Tonight, I am here to voice my adamant opposition to the proposal to make the city of Melrose a sanctuary city. I have read many articles, both pro and con articles, regarding this issue. Some were valid, others were not valid. There are many reasons against a sanctuary city, but due to time constraints here tonight, I shall only give you two personal reasons why I think Melrose should not be designated a sanctuary city. Firstly, I am an American citizen, but my family, father, mother, siblings, and I immigrated to this country. To come to this country, we each began and completed a long, drawn-out process. We followed the rules and obeyed the law. In other words, we showed respect for America's laws and the rule of law. But illegal aliens have started their lives in America by showing absolutely no respect for America's laws, by being untruthful, and by disobeying laws of the country in which they seek to live. I do not understand what is so difficult about a concept that illegal aliens are breaking the law, period. Designating Melrose as a sanctuary city has negative collateral effects. As a former legal immigrant, I submit that a sanctuary city would breed disrespect for the rule of law. It would condone the principle that people, including elected officials, can decide themselves what laws they will disobey if they dislike those laws and what laws they will obey. Is that really the type of community value message that you want to send? Is that the type of message that you want to teach to the kids of Melrose? I think not. I also submit a sanctuary city will essentially facilitate and encourage illegal immigration. A sanctuary label is and will be unfair and unjust to all legal immigrants, including myself. My second reason against a sanctuary city, I suggest, is an obvious and very relevant question. Does Melrose really need the designation of a sanctuary city? Or put another way, is there a rationale? Is there a clear and existing situation or any cogent reason that calls for the political title of sanctuary city? If there is one, I wish somebody would give me an example, because I see no reason. Speculation and supposition are not enough. In summation, please do not pass a proposal that will create potential problems for the city and those who govern it, and which, in all likelihood, will involve the expenditures of limited city resources and finances. We don't need yet another referendum to override 2.5. Please do not pass a proposal that will create conflicts among neighbors, pit neighbors against neighbors. Depending on the purpose you strive for, community activism is a laudable endeavor. But, ladies and gentlemen, a sanctuary label has no commendable merit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda Humphrey. I live at 354 Upham Street, unit number 7. I don't know that I either support or don't support the term of sanctuary city, but I think the term itself is problematic. It has no real legal definition. It varies from city to city where it is applied. The term has spread to college campuses, and several college campuses have started to call themselves sanctuary campuses. Recently, Drew Faust from Harvard University determined that she would not give Harvard the title of sanctuary campus, although she has been a vocal advocate for student rights, especially the students of illegal immigrants. One of the things that she said in declining to name Harvard a sanctuary campus was that it might be a false or misleading statement, leading students to believe that they have a greater protection under the law than they have. And so I question that by just using the blanket term of sanctuary city, if we will be leading people to think that they have rights or safeties or protections that may not be legally enforceable under the law. And I think that it's an important consideration that our policies and the term sanctuary city may not be in alignment. It also jeopardizes our potential federal funding, which is sure to become smaller and smaller. If we think about it, we'll look at our policies and procedures and amend those to more closely reflect what we believe a sanctuary city should be, and to act as a sanctuary city without choosing a nomenclature which has no legal definition.
Thank you.
Decide to make this faster.
Good evening. Maya Jamaluddin, 10 Melrose Street. Today I stand in this room to represent not only myself and my kids, but also I'm representing my immigrants friends, refugees, and Muslim, regardless what is their paper status. I would like to explain to everyone, to my lovely friend that support diversity and welcome immigrants, but yet don't see the need of declaring Melrose a sanctuary city. Also to my neighbors who are afraid to have a Muslim family live on the same street or to host a refugee. Also to the customer that refused to have a Muslim woman serve her or to this kid who asked his Muslim friend if his parents are terrorists and if they carry guns. And he added, all what Muslims do is war and fights. Not only that, my words are directed to our police department that always treated us with dignity and showed us support and love. Chief Lyle, I'm very blessed to live in a community that you serve in. We love our police department and officers in Melrose. But what you didn't hear yet from our lovely friends and families, because they are afraid to speak up for many reasons, that we have been asked by coworkers, strangers, and neighbors about our status. We have been told to go back to our countries. They promised us to deport us. At this time, Sanctuary City is not political to us. It's moral act. It's equal an executive order to stop people taking over our police roles. Once we tell those people that this city is sanctuary, they will stop, or at least they will think twice before they open their mouth. And now I would like to ask Mayor Dolan, Chief Lyle, and Board of Aldermen to support my request. And if this petition is not suitable to you, please help us work on a resolution that will make us feel welcomed and equal to any other human. We are people who live in this country and serve it with the best of our ability. I'm a mom, employee, wife, loyal citizen, friend, neighbor, homeowner, taxpayer. I serve and love this community, and best of all, I'm a human who deserves to live in peace without being questioned, discriminated, or threatened. Last but not least, I'm sure that each one of you is probably saying, we don't have those acts here in Melrose. And yes, my answer for all of you is yes, we do, my dear friends. And I'm that Muslim neighbor. I'm the mom of a child who was asked by his friend if his parents are terrorists. And yes, my other Muslim friend who is afraid to leave her house was threatened by a customer and was told to go back to her country. This young girl was born and raised here. She's 20 years old. But just because she chose to be covered, she was treated that way. With your help and support, we will feel as a Muslim American citizen, immigrant, refugees, and human, safe and welcome in a sanctuary city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Andy Ravens. I live on Harvard Street. I'm a fairly new resident to Melrose, been here only 29 years. I am a first-generation American. My parents came here, legally immigrants, from displaced camps in Germany. When they came to the United States, they were discriminated against. Not as bad as it is these days because of their language barriers. They hung to with their own people, and it was hard for them to get involved in the community. It was not through lack of trying, but it was by non-acceptance of the neighbors. As time went on, through hard work, dedication, learning the language, they became accepted. Slowly, maybe not fully accepted, but they became accepted. I've become accepted, and I'm just a good old citizen. The first speaker spoke about how immigrants are not accepted in the United States, especially ones of different race or religions. And that's true. It's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. But the acceptance cannot be affected by a law. It's accepted by us, looking at our neighbors and being tolerant and being of the nature to understand them and listen to them. That's how you learn. It makes us all better people. Having a law designating a sanctuary city will not help anything. It may actually divide us more. We just need to be tolerant of each other and respectful of each other and move on forward. That's what makes this country great. Being a legal citizen or illegal immigrant shouldn't be important. You have to accept the person. There's really lousy citizens in the United States that probably should be deported, but they stay here. There's immigrants that are here, they're legally, they probably should be citizens because they're great people. But a law to make it a sanctuary city, in my viewpoint, is useless. We need to learn how to tolerate each other, learning through the schools, through the clergy, and just looking in the mirror and being kind to each other and understanding. That's it.
Thank you.
My name is Mary Clark. I live on First Street, and I'm in favor of designating Melrose as a sanctuary city. I wanted to clarify that the application of the immigration laws is a federal responsibility. So nothing that we do in Melrose would prevent ICE agents from coming into Melrose and arresting undocumented immigrants that they consider are ready for deportation. So the issue in being a sanctuary city is about the role of our own police, whether our own police would be involved in arresting or detaining undocumented immigrants. I'm not in favor of our own local police being involved in those issues. I want our local police to be involved in our own local law and order and not in enforcing the immigration laws, which are a federal responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jim Garrett. I live on Ardsmore Road. I'm in favor. I would like to, I guess, amplify the previous speaker by mentioning a scenario that hasn't come up. Suppose that a crime is committed and an undocumented alien is a witness. If the police department is effectively deputized by federal authorities, by ICE, which is a function for which they're not trained and not funded, what would happen? That witness would live in fear of the police and would not come forward. This puts our law enforcement at a disadvantage. I think that's not the role we want our police to be in. I do believe in the rule of law. I do believe in the right of the government to control who's enters our country, and if someone's not here through the appropriate channels, ideally they should be taken out. However, I think we've gotten to this situation because our economy is effectively dependent on illegal immigrant labor. That's just the way it is. And the federal authorities, the federal powers that be have utterly failed to come up with an adequate resolution to this. And we on the local level have to deal with the consequences. So I'm sympathetic to my fellow citizens who are concerned about the rule of law. I would like the law at the federal level to be resolved in a reasonable way. But until it is, I think we have to come up with a strategy at our local level that is going to work in favor of law enforcement. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Board of Aldermen and Chief Lyle. And thank you for taking this time to hear from the community. My name is Jane Allen, and I'm here tonight to speak in support of declaring Melrose a sanctuary city. I speak to you as a lifelong resident of Melrose, as someone who is educated here from the Beebe School through Melrose High School, and whose children are now in the Melrose public school system. My family and I are members of the First United Methodist Church here in Melrose, and my husband and I are co-lead leaders of that church. I'm not here to speak on behalf of my church, but I mention my affiliation because it contributes to my perspective on this issue. And I'd like to echo the statement made by the leaders of Melrose's faith community in the letter to the Free Press by affirming the current practices of Melrose Police Department, which protect everyone they encounter regardless of their immigration status. One of the things I've heard said in public discussion about why we should or should not declare Melrose a sanctuary city is that we already behave like one. We already adhere to the practices outlined in the proposal that has been put forth, so there's no need to formalize things with a potentially controversial label. This is the same reason that some people gave in response to the movement within our church several years ago when we wanted to welcome gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people. They were uncomfortable. They said, well, we're very welcoming. Can't we just say all are welcome? We talked about that a lot as a church, and we concluded that if you want to truly welcome people who face ongoing and pervasive discrimination, you need to do so explicitly, with intentionality. I would like to see Melrose make the decision to be intentionally welcoming to people of all religions, colors, and backgrounds, and specifically at this moment in time when they have been made to feel unwelcome by many people and in many places throughout the country to immigrants. I mentioned the letter from the faith community, but these words from the statement on this issue by the Melrose Human Rights Commission also resonated for me. Let us live up to the promise, one community, open to all. I think this is the right thing to do, and I ask you to join me in supporting the proposal to declare Melrose a sanctuary city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Deborah Rosati from Porter Street, and I'm proud to be a 27-year resident of Melrose, where all opinions are respected and considered. I'm also proud to be part of a community where all are welcome to reside, participate, educate our children, work, dine, shop, and spend time with our family and friends. To apply a label of sanctuary city, a term that lacks any clear definition, implies that we have been anything but the welcoming community that we've always been. I have the utmost trust and respect for our administration, elected officials, and our law enforcement community, and know that they will act in the best interest of Melrose and its residents, whatever the opportunity or challenge. I trust that existing policy provides a balance between the rights of individuals and the protection of our residents. In lieu of assigning a meaningless political label, let us continue as we have always been, otherwise unlabeled, one community, welcome to all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Mary Landergan. I've been a resident of Melrose for over 20 years on Porter Street. I raised my children here. I'm also a lawyer, so I do have respect for the rule of law. However, I am here to strongly voice my support for Melrose becoming a sanctuary city for some of the same reasons that Marty Walsh designated Boston as a sanctuary city. Immigrants are now living in fear. They're being rounded up indiscriminately, regardless of whether they're criminals, whether they're not criminals. There are people who have been here, they were brought here as children, so they still don't have their legal status. They're being rounded up. I think what made me feel like we had to make a statement was when I heard about a woman in Texas who was seeking a restraining order against her abusive husband, and ICE came in and took her away because she didn't have her documents in place. So what is going on right now is creating a society in which I think many immigrants live in fear. They live in fear that they will be rounded up indiscriminately. They live in fear that they will be viewed as criminals, because we've heard a lot about immigrants being criminals. Well, I know many prosecutors who, under Obama, were prosecuting and deporting immigrants who were criminals. This is not something new. This new enforcement effort has targeted families, it's targeted a wide range of people, and a lot of people are living in fear. And I think that it is so unjust that it is important for Melrose to join Boston and other sanctuary cities and make a statement that immigrants should not have to live in fear, and that indeed the immigrants that we have in our town should feel like they're safe here. I want to note, though, that I really respect the mayor and the police for for making sure that they have respected the rights of immigrants to date. But I do feel that conditions have deteriorated to a point where it is important to make a statement and not sit back passively while people are persecuted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for this opportunity to speak about this very important matter. My name is Leda Williams. I have been a Melrose resident for almost 25 years. And I have seen a lot of changes in Melrose. When we first moved here, there was no Johnny Foodmaster. The grocery store that is now Whole Foods was boarded up. There were certainly no chains in Melrose at that time. There were a lot of mom and pop stores. I think maybe there was a Friendly's, that was about it. I have to say that I'm an immigrant. My parents are immigrants. I'm a citizen, and I'm a lawyer. So I appreciate being an officer of the court. I appreciate everything that this country has stood for all these years. Melrose is my home. I never lived any place longer than 6 years. I've lived in Melrose now, as I said, over 20, almost 25. I have been made to feel at home here. I have made this my home. There have been a few incidents along the way, but pretty much, I stayed because we're happy here. A lot of good people in Melrose, regardless of how they feel about this situation, about this issue or other issues. For me, I think as I have come to experience within the last 2 years or so, I have noticed a level of discourse that affects about undocumented immigrants that affects me as well. I think that hearing about people getting shot just for being different, you don't have people asking for people's papers before they take out their gun. Now that might seem like, oh, that's a very extreme example, but I will tell you that this filters not just for people who are undocumented, but it also filters out. This is a slippery slope. There is an atmosphere that's created, I think, where I do not feel as safe. I used to walk down the streets of Melrose, some guy yelled at me, I was like, oh, whatever, he's crazy or whatever. Nowadays, someone yells at me, and I think, oh, I should probably get home. And that's really unsettling to me, and I hope it's unsettling for you too. There are a couple of things about being a sanctuary city which I think are really important. One, as I said, that you recognize that it doesn't affect only undocumented people. It affects everyone who feels different. And for me, I mean, I am a lawyer. I have access to resources, but that doesn't make a bit of difference when I walk down the street. The other thing I think that's really important is when you think about the people that you care about and the people who you trust, what I think about is when push comes to shove, this person is going to be there for me. You know what? In my mind, this resolution is push comes to shove. And the reason that I feel that way is because there are a lot of people around who I've heard tonight that we don't need this because Melrose takes the appropriate steps in not enforcing the rules necessarily unless the undocumented people are violent felons, and that's great because I totally appreciate that. But I also understand that there are two sides to the sanctuary city issue. If you declare this a sanctuary city, you will also have people becoming more trusting. I didn't know that there were, I guess I never had a reason to think about it. I didn't know that our police would not enforce those types of things necessarily. I think if you say that we are a city that is welcoming and that we are a sanctuary city, I think more people will understand that, and seeing it as a resolution of a town is very important. I think undocumented people, to the extent that they hear, and I really don't know what the extent is, but when you include those people, they are more likely to appeal to the processes of law. For example, as was mentioned, the woman who was looking for a protective order. If she wasn't, now, people are afraid to go out and be seen. They're afraid to go to parades for their own holidays because, they're afraid that they're going to be picked up. I guess the other thing that I've heard tonight is that there is this feeling that, as long as we don't really say that we're a sanctuary city, it's okay. Well, you know what? It's really important that you say it not only to me, to other people who want to be part of America, but also because these things always trickle down. There's evidence that turning into a sanctuary city or that there's been evidence that police chiefs have found that there is a downtick in crime because undocumented people are more willing to work with the police departments. I think there's an article in the LA Times that talks about, including LA, that they have seen more of the community policing itself in the sense that they pick out the violent people and they report them, and they're more likely to cooperate with their local police to get those people out because they're not afraid of reporting crimes or of being helpful to the police. I think that's a good thing. The final thing that I'd like to talk about is that there is a sense that this is bringing something to the forefront that wasn't there before. And I can tell you that this has always been there. There's an undercurrent. There are a lot of good people, and I understand from a perspective, if you're not different, how you can see, what's the big deal, But when you are different, it's a big deal. You live it every day. And so what I'm asking all of you is that you consider this from the issue of the people who are not saying it doesn't matter, So you have people who are different like me, and I'm asking you and telling you it makes a big difference to me, even though I've been here in Melrose for 20 years. The fact that I feel less safe today is pretty incredible, even to me. It's frightening. So I ask that you support the Sanctuary City resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Ballou. I'm I guess you could say I'm a lifelong resident of Melrose. I grew up here. I left for a couple years for school or whatnot, but I'm raising my own family here now. I have 2 small children. I think I live in Alderman Trementosi's district or Ward 1. I signed the petition in support of this sanctuary city designation with severe reservations. I'm also an attorney. I support the rule of law. I know that we have great leadership in our community. Chief Lyle is an excellent chief of police. I know members of the force personally. I also don't think that I also was sensitive to the fact that potentially the genesis of the petition was political. It was potentially, and my feeling was that it was a reaction to the election, and there was a lot of negative feeling because of the outcome of the election. So that was one of my first reservations. So I looked into sanctuary cities. I tried to understand more about what they actually mean. And what I determined is that Melrose is already doing an excellent job operating as such, but the executive order that the President Trump issued, says it doesn't necessarily matter whether or not your community is formally or informally a sanctuary city, if they decide, whether or not the federal funding will be restricted. So whether or not we decide to adopt the designation sanctuary city may or may not impact our federal funding status. That's the first point I wanted to make. And the other point I wanted to make is that what we've heard here today is, the voices that I've heard here today, the ones that make the most difference to me are the voices that we don't typically hear in this room. Having grown up here, I can say that from experience, this is a very white community, and sometimes it takes leaving the community to realize how isolated we truly are in our experience. I mean, my neighborhood wasn't just white, it was all Catholic, okay? So we have to be open to the fears and concerns that are being voiced by the members of our community that are brave enough to come here today and talk about this openly. We also have to be cognizant of the fact that there are very many people of our community that stayed home tonight. And I'm not saying that this petition is the petition we should adopt, and that to this term, the alderman, sirs, and that you should necessarily take this road today. But I really ask you, I appeal to you today, that this should be the beginning of a conversation in our community. That we should be talking about ways that people that live here could feel safer, could feel heard. In the public schools, we all know what happened in the high school, civil rights violations. Covered mothers should feel comfortable walking their children to school in the morning. If this is their reality, then that really troubles me. It breaks my heart. And the only silver lining I can say here is that this petition, say what you will about it, the way it was handled, I disagree with, but it started this conversation, which is so important to our community, and I just hope we can continue that. And I personally would love to work on a community effort to do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
John Connolly, and I live up at 10 Lincoln Street. I hear the phrase "open to all." I've heard it for a few years now. At this time, it should be open to all law-abiding people. If you're not obeying the law, you won't run into trouble with the police. And you won't have to, if you're an illegal alien, your condition won't be brought up to the local police or to the federal police, and you won't have to face this. I think this talk of sanctuary city or illegal or legal immigrants is something that's being discussed around the country, just like in here, which is wonderful. But jumping into sanctuary cities without first talking out the alternatives, I don't think it's an emergency situation. It's an emergency for illegal aliens. But I will say that our police department here is excellent. And if you make this a sanctuary city, you're going to put a lot of pressure on the police, and they're used to working with the federal, state, and other local police departments. Oh, I think their input into this should be to some degree. And also, it's an important issue, and I would expect that the next step would be put it to the voters, go through the normal channels. Wait a minute. Oh, I'm surprised to see the churches speaking up. They seem to be organized. And sometimes you can't get the churches to speak up on much of anything publicly. And I guess that's about it.
Hi, my name is Alice Shattuck. I live at 140 Grove Street in Melrose. I came tonight to speak in opposition to adopting this order to become a so-called sanctuary city. Somebody earlier this evening said that it's important when we're telling people that they're welcome in our community that we tell them explicitly that they're welcome in our community. And so I will say it right now explicitly. I welcome you to Melrose regardless of creed, color, national origin, all the categories that we have for people. I welcome you. I just told you my address. If you don't feel welcome, come and knock on my door and we'll have a cup of coffee and we'll talk things over. I reject the idea that Melrose has not been a welcoming community. It's been a welcoming community at least since the time when I moved here 6 years ago. And I've always loved the fact that our motto is one community, open to all. And I think that if the order in front of us tonight were that we should be a community that welcomes all people, that you wouldn't see the crowd here that you see in front of you, and that would not be a divisive issue. But that's not what this order says. It doesn't say we're a community that's welcoming. It specifically is an order that is telling our police officers how to do their jobs and saying that if they don't do them in a certain way, that they are not welcoming, that they're not tolerant, and equates that with bigotry, with harassment, with discrimination, all of which are things that I don't think are true of our police department. I think we have an excellent police department here with a really great relationship with the community. I think that they're trustworthy, and I believe in them to use the legal tools at their disposal judiciously, fairly, and without discrimination against the citizens of Melrose. The message that this order sends to me is that we're a community that doesn't care about following certain laws. And that's not a message that I agree with. This term, sanctuary city, is so politicized and has come to mean that you have a certain disagreement with specific immigration laws of the United States. And while I think that that's a great debate to have, I think components of our immigration system are very broken right now in the United States, and that's an important debate. And I think that the people of Melrose should talk about it and think about it. I don't think that picking a side in that fight at this moment in history is the right thing for Melrose as a city to be doing. So I thank you for your time, and those are my feelings on the matter.
Hi, Julie DiLillo, 13th Circuit Street. And I will reiterate with what Alice said, you can come knock on my door as well. And I would have a cup of coffee with you. I think that's a great sentiment. So I am here opposing the petition for Sanctuary City. Over the last year and a half, Melrose has received many accolades and recognition for being one of the hottest zip codes, one of the hottest real estate markets, one of the safest cities. We have received those because of who we are today. It's not only our diversity of race, ethnicity, national origin, but it's our diversity of thoughts and ideas. Labeling the city as a sanctuary city will stifle some of those ideas and thoughts. It will stifle people coming here. People, whether people want to believe it or not, have strong opinions about the term sanctuary city and what it means. Because even though this petition is specific to how our police force act, the term sanctuary city in other places across this country means different things. And people will associate that with Melrose. And we will not be the hottest zip code, the hottest real estate market. Because our ideas and our thoughts, because we are different, will be stifled. I feel like, you know, I said this, I think, before, is sometimes I'm afraid to speak as the opposition. During the election, because I wasn't voting the same way as someone, I was verbally attacked by email, called names, because I wasn't voting similar to someone. It made me, I heard people talking about being afraid. Well, that causes a little angst with me, and whether I want to come forward and put my name on a piece of paper with my address, knowing that there are people that are going to do that. Not because of my race, my religion, my national origin, but because I had a different idea. And sometimes that's just who we are. The police aren't going to stop that. I'm not calling the police to stop that. Sanctuary City isn't going to stop that person from saying things to me. That's not going to happen from the name Sanctuary City. That's going to happen because we want to be neighbors, friends, and family. Our police force act with honesty and integrity, and they will always do that. They're not going to be detaining people. We've heard it. We've heard it here. So designating us as a sanctuary city it's going to stop the diversity from coming here, people with different thoughts and ideas, because they're going to look at us. They're not going to want to come here. There's going to be a certain section of people, a certain type of people that do, and a certain type of people that don't. But right now, we have proof. People want to come here. I have a friend at work who is looking to buy in Melrose. He stands at open houses with 50, 60 people. That may not happen tomorrow if we vote this in, because people are going to stop wanting to come here. I mentioned to him that this hearing was happening tonight, and he took a step back. That will happen. So this is, I think somebody said it before, this is a term that is fraught with emotion. It will divide this city, and we don't want that. We want to stay the community we are. We want people helping people. When you look out on the Melrose community page and you see people thanking people they don't know for doing something kind, helping them out, that's what we want to keep. That's our community, and that's where we should stay. Thank you.
Good evening, my friends. Jim Bennett, 45 Wentworth Road. Pleasure to speak to you all. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of this resolution, in favor of this resolution, and let me just tell you why. We are so blessed in this city, first of all, to have Chief Lyle here, who informed me just a few days ago, we spoke over the phone. Yes, that's right. Great to see you face to face, sir. Inform me, he's never handed anybody over to ICE. He never will hand anybody over to ICE. That is marvelous news for everyone in our city. We are so fortunate to have Mayor Rob Dolan, who has been such a supporter of diversity and immigration to this city. So why do we need this? If we know that everything that's being asked in this petition will already be done by the police, and it is for this reason that we have to decide at this moment what sort of city do you want to be, and more importantly, what message do you want to send to all the people around Melrose, all the people who work in Melrose, who visit Melrose, who want to live in Melrose. There are so many people of different nationalities who have to go to our hospital for help. There are so many people who work here, so many landscaping crews. I don't know what their national origin is or what their legal status is, but I have a feeling that some of them are not here legally. And I shouldn't say this, it's just landscaping crews, because let's face it, there are professional people here who have overstayed on their green cards. Maybe people who are actually working in that hospital healing bodies as well. And those people should not be afraid to go to Chief Lyle. And here's the issue, that if you leave this room tonight, and you decide, or you table it tonight, and you do this on another night, and say, we don't want to be a sanctuary city. You'll all have good reasons for doing that. Some of them reasons that I respect very much. But the news that will go out is that this is the town that rejected being a sanctuary city. And people will make assumptions about that, just like they make assumptions when they hear that this is the town where we've had 2 civil rights discrimination lawsuits in the high school. That's bad news for this town, because everyone's been mentioning how long they lived here. I grew up here myself. And it seems like my whole life, at least since the mid-90s, I've been looking at this slogan, one community open to all. But let's face it, this is the case with every city slogan everywhere. That is aspirational. It is not a statement of fact. It is a statement of where we want to be. And on this particular night, I think we are at a moment where you get to be part of a very important conversation on where do we want to be. Do we want to be that city on the hill? Do we want to be the city that is one community open to all? Because look, you good folks here, you probably never see this many people here, do you? You are here night after night discussing things that would bore us all to tears, but that are so essential. Water rates, water mains, everything having to do with water, sewer, what have you, right? You never see us. You work so hard, but here is the fact. 100 years from now, 50 years from now, 5 years from now, everyone will forget everything you ever did about the sewers. It's a fact. But this vote you take today, I can say this because I happen to serve on the Historical Commission here in Melrose. People ask me historical facts all the time. A century from now, people will be very interested to know what you did at this moment. This is the sort of vote they'll say, what was Melrose deciding what it was going to be in 2017? And I can't tell you what you choose for us to be. That is your job as elected officials. But I hope you look inside your heart and you look inside your head, you listen to everything people have said tonight, and I hope you come to the right decision. Thanks.
Hi, I didn't plan on speaking tonight. I'm April. I recently moved here. I live on Allen Place. And I wanted to speak because of the fact that I'm new. I've been here about 1.5 years, and I have felt every bit as welcomed as everyone has described it. I'm also humble enough to never assume that that is the experience that everyone who is in this community feels. So I'm glad that so many other people feel like me, that this is a very welcoming place and they can walk down Main Street and they are greeted and everyone is so kind. But that is not everyone's experience, and I really just want to make sure that those of us who have had a good experience and therefore also are the ones who are going to most feel comfortable coming up and speaking out and putting our names on a list and having our voices and faces recorded, do not drown out those people who have not had that experience. And so I just ask that you do add weight to the people who have not had that experience. You do not assume that the only people who have spoken about having a negative experience are the only ones who have had that experience. I have a lot of thoughts, and but because I didn't plan to speak, I don't think I would be very articulate about them. So I really want to just say that. The only thing I would add is that there's been a lot of discussion about laws and being a good citizen that follows laws, and I'm the daughter of a cop, daughter of a female cop, during a time when there weren't female cops. And we've had a lot of laws put in place. Laws have not always been positive. Many people have been discriminated against, many people have been unjust, many people have not had abilities to access protections because of laws. So the idea that because something's a law is a good or a bad thing, and it says something about a person who lives under that, how they live under that law, does not say something about the quality of that person, whether or not that person should be our neighbor, whether or not it doesn't say anything about the integrity of that person. Some laws, maybe it does, but just the simple fact that there is a law does not speak to the integrity of a person and how they live under it. So that's the one thing I'd want to add to it, but I also realize that that's more of a federal level, so I will move on. Thank you. Oh, if I wasn't clear, I support calling it a sanctuary city.
Good evening. My name is David McLaughlin. I've been a Melrose resident for 35 years. I've raised my family here. My son, who's with me, attended all Melrose public schools and graduated Melrose High School. I've been extremely involved in the community over the years. I've coached, refereed, participated, sponsored Melrose Youth Hockey, soccer, Incarnation Baseball, Learn to Skate programs, Melrose Babe Ruth, Melrose Y coaching, basketball, Melrose JV in varsity baseball. So clearly I have a pretty good insight of what's been going on in the community for the past 35 years. Melrose is currently enjoying some solid economic growth along with some positive recognition with numerous awards over the past several years. Boston Magazine, 2017, Best Places to Live North of Boston. 2016, Wallet Hubs of America, Best Small Cities, 26 in the country and number 2 in the state. That's absolutely phenomenal. 2015, Realtor.com names Melrose the hottest market in the country. But please remember, times were not always good here in Melrose. We've suffered through years of budget cuts, along with declining property values. Melrose had the reputation of having a subpar school system for a long, long time. We had to deal with Proposition 2.5 and all its overrides. I mention these issues for people tend to have short memories when it comes to these type of events, for it took a long time of proper planning, execution, and tax revenue to get us where we are today. Melrose has always been one community open to all, and I've witnessed it over the years. I support Mayor Dolan's comment where he cautions us against adopting the title of Sanctuary City, for this term is hyper-political. I've been in here 35 years. This is my first time I've ever been here. I haven't felt a need. So this is how political this issue is. This will cause division in the community. I've seen this. I've been born and raised in Somerville. I've seen what that term has done. My relatives are still in Somerville. It's not a good thing, and I would not want to see this happen in Melrose. In addition, Melrose should not have to run the risk, no matter how small it is today, to have its federal funding reduced or possibly eliminated. Remember, we have 3.75 more years until the next presidential election. These reductions or eliminations, if they do occur, is a result of a vote here tonight. So there's only 2 ways to make up this shortfall. If it occurs, local taxes and reduced services. None of these options are appealing to any Melrose resident. In closing, I urge this Board of Aldermen to reject the sanctuary city. Recommendation is that Melrose has always been a community open to all, and we don't need a label to describe what we do and what we feel in this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Alfreda Doyle. I live on 98 Crescent Avenue, and I've been in this country for 60 years. And legally. And I live in Melrose for 50 years. I think I already said that. But anyway, I came to say that anybody that wants to come to this country can come to this country legally, but we don't need illegals. When I first came here, in my application it said, if I don't abide by the law, I will be deported. It's not happening anymore. And we don't know who the heck is in here in our country, and all they want to do is kill us. Anyway, I want to know right now, the sanctuary city, I want to tell you that I'm very much against it, and so is my husband. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brian McAllister Grand. I live on 22 Tappan Street. I've been here for 6 years. I know you're all probably pretty tired tonight after hearing so many comments, so I won't make this too long at all. I'm in strong support of the sanctuary city designation. I think the one thing that I could add, I think I've been moved by the eloquent statements of people who feel that they're in fear of walking down the street purely because they look different. That sort of pales in comparison for me for any other reason. That's a safety issue, and that's a moral issue. But I will add one thing, and that's that I've heard a few times, both on the pro side and against side, that Melrose is the hottest zip code, that our economic standing is at stake. And I do sympathize a little bit with that argument, but I've lived a very comfortable life. I suspect many people in this room have lived a very comfortable life most of their life. I can go purchase anything pretty much I want after this conversation. We all, many of us live extremely comfortable lives. I don't think that we need to be the hottest zip code or worry so much about our Boston Magazine official standing. I think we can afford one more open house where someone doesn't overbid each other. What I really hear when I hear the hottest zip code is that we should be more like Winchester and less like something else, which basically means white and gentrified. So that's just one piece I'll add to the conversation. Please put the economic piece of this a little bit lower than the moral piece of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris Spalding. I live on Sewell Street. I've listened to a lot of people here tonight. I haven't heard one illegal come here and say that why they think that this is needed. I haven't heard from one. Where's the need to make this happen if they're not here saying how much they need this to be a sanctuary city? I don't see them here tonight. The only thing I would ask is that if this does move forward, that the voters are left to decide this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jason Cornelis, East Emerson Street, Ward 4. Welcome to all. Melrose is welcome to all. And I think the last couple of years, we've seen that. I've met people that have moved here from Colorado. I've met people that have moved here from California, people from closer to home, Somerville, Arlington, Cambridge, and we've welcomed all these people. I think that this sanctuary city petition is really a non-issue, as we've heard. I'll be brief because it's getting late, but we've heard from the mayor and we've heard from the chief, and it's really, the policy is it's a non-issue. And just to bring up the federal aid, I haven't heard any, someone might have mentioned it, but I think it's close to $2.3 million we get from the federal government. So that's a lot to make up if we end up losing that because of 2 words, sanctuary city. So obviously I'm against the petition. Cut it short, and Sign. Thank you.
Good evening, Eric Wildman, 33 Norman Road. I'll be brief. I had sent message to the board earlier with my comment, so I just wanted to make one point that hasn't been made, so I figured it'd be good to make it publicly. The comment was made earlier. There's actually been incredibly eloquent comments tonight on both sides of the issue. But the comment was made earlier that we usually don't see this many people here. This topic engenders emotion. On both sides, legitimate emotion on both sides. And it was also commented that, we get bored with sewer rates and things like that. That's what you guys usually do. Usually only another city municipal matters, the mundane. So my question, I think the question that's important for the members of the board to think about as a practical legislative body of the city of Melrose, if this order passes, what changes tomorrow? As a practical matter, what changes in the actions and the work that the City of Melrose Police Department does on a daily basis? To my mind, other than, and we discussed the label, whether it's warranted or not, the rationale for that or not, to my mind, there is no difference. This order has no practical impact on what the men and women of the Melrose Police Department do. Now, my other fear is however this moves forward, is if this does move forward, that the next petition that will be coming before the Board of Aldermen will be to rescind the sanctuary city order. And then we have a debate and discussion about that. I think the conversation thus far has been positive for the city of Melrose. We now understand, there's an understanding of this community what the attitude and the policies of the Melrose Police Department do. I think that's a good thing. I think people have talked about living in fear of what goes on and what might happen. I think we're educated more. I think this say what you will about the petition, whether you agree with it or not, this has spurred a conversation I think has been helpful for the city of Melrose. And I think we can take away from that. So absent any practical change that this order would actually operationally mean for the men and women of the Melrose Police Department, I don't see it. I would suspect that the sanctuary label, whether you agree or disagree, and I think it does have different meanings to different people, I think it has possibly a false sense of security. It's not going to change attitudes. That won't change if an individual feels that a sanctuary city designation is not going to make someone not discriminate against someone because they look different, or they act different, or they have a different accent. That's not, I'm sorry, that simply is not the case. So for that reason, I would hope that the Board of Aldermen do not approve this order. Thank you.
I'm Betsy Garrett. I live at 70 Artsmore Road. I'm going to be very brief about this. The petition itself, the title says petition to make the city of Melrose a sanctuary city. The word sanctuary city is nowhere in the petition itself. And so I support the wording of the petition. I think if we take out the wording, the label sanctuary city, I think if we take that off, the petition is much more palatable to our town. And so I encourage the aldermen to think about using the words to make explicit what Chief Lyle and what Mayor Dolan have said we already do. To make that explicit, to make people understand that they feel that they are safe, that they can trust law enforcement, they can trust the mayor to respect them. But I think if we just take off that label, I think it would be more palatable to Melrose.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kevin Votor. I'm a documented immigrant from Everett. I've been in Melrose for 38 years. I've been very happy here. I've heard cogent arguments on both sides of the issue here tonight. The one thing that keeps on bothering me is, and I've heard it from a number of lawyers up here, is every time they say the word immigrant, they never include the word illegal. Everybody here, I think, including myself, is in favor of legal immigration. If people are coming here because, after breaking the law, I'm sorry, I think that's a problem, no matter which way you look at it. I'm also have to say that I'm ashamed that this is the first time I've been in this building, I shouldn't say building, but this room in the 38 years I lived here, and I hope to make my presence a little bit more frequently. And I do have to say that the people that have represented me in the city all these years have been extremely good. This is just a fantastic place, and I understand why people want to come here. It's a great place, and I can guarantee I'll be dying here. So anyway, thank you for listening to me, and again, I am against the designation of sanctuary city.
My name is John Cronin, and I live at 99 West Wyoming Avenue in Melrose. I'll be very brief. I'm against the proposal, and my big overriding fear is if we're not careful, we're going to set race relationships back 60 years. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lynn Kelly. I live at 24 Melbourne Ave, and I'm a longtime Melrose resident. I was hoping tonight at this meeting, looking around this room, I was looking for two individuals. I was looking for Kate Steinle and also Matthew Denise, but I don't see them here. I firmly believe that the United States is a nation of laws. I, as an American, choose to abide by our laws. Illegal is not an undocumented immigrant. It is someone who's here against our laws, and every day they break their laws. A drug dealer is not an unlicensed pharmacist, and I would not commit a crime and call any one of you here on this board and ask you to assist me in hiding up that crime by aiding and abetting me. You would refuse because you would be breaking the law. It's not fair for those that have followed our laws to be pushed aside in order to reward illegal aliens who circumvent the process to gain entry to this country. I brought up the name Kate Steinle because she is from San Francisco and she's no longer with us. Kate Steinle was 31 years old and walking in the beautiful sanctuary city of San Francisco with her father on one of their historic piers when a shot rang out, ricocheted off a cement barrier, and struck her. Her last words before she passed at the age of 31 was, "Dad, please help me." A mile away in the same sanctuary city, police captured Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez, 41 years of age. At that time, he had been deported from the United States 5 times and had made his way illegally back into this country. ICE had requested an immigration detainer to be notified of his latest release from a federal prison, but because San Francisco was a sanctuary city, Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez was afforded protection under the Fourth Amendment right of illegal search and seizure, so was not able to be divulged to ICE that he was being released. He went on to murder that young woman. I'm also looking around the room tonight to look for Matthew Denise, because if San Francisco is a little bit too far away for you, I ask you to look no further than Milford, Massachusetts. In 2011, Matthew was on his way home from work, looking forward to seeing his girlfriend, soon-to-be fiancée of 8 years, to tell how his day was, to see his mom, and do whatever. However, that night, as he was going home on his motorcycle, an illegal immigrant, a criminal, who is an unlicensed driver, not allowed to be here in the United States, and drunk behind the wheel, endangering his own son who was in the back seat, slammed into Matthew as he blew through a stop sign. And then he panicked. And what he did is he dragged Nicholas to his death. But once again, because of the sanctuary city status, he was arrested in 2008, 3 years previous to this infraction that took Matthew's life. He played the system. Had it been divulged of his status for the arrest of the breaking and entering, he should have been deported. Once again, he played the system better than a concert pianist. Now Matthew Denise is dead. His girlfriend is a widow. His mother was without a son. Kate Steinle has left her parents, her family, her friends, but it's all because of the sanctuary city status that the illegal criminal was protected. And I would like to ask any one of the 223 people who signed this petition this evening that if right here in Melrose, if Milford or San Francisco is not far enough away for you in the hottest zip code, I want to ask every one of these people who signed the petition, if it was your child who was struck, killed, murdered, assaulted by someone who shouldn't have been here, what would be your first response? Well, what are they doing here? They shouldn't even be here. This never should have happened. You are correct. It never should have happened, and nor should this city be given the designation of a sanctuary city. I have not had one of my friends who is looking for housing call me up and talk about the hottest zip code and then put on there, oh, but wait a minute, are you guys going to be sanctuary? Okay, it is a political term that can be a time bomb here in this city. Okay, you've heard both sides here back and forth, and I'm here to give you a little bit of information of what happens when local law enforcement officials are not allowed to reach out to hire. If you pull me over in my car and find out that I'm an unlicensed driver or that I'm driving on a suspended license, you're going to arrest me. If you arrest somebody who is not a citizen of this country, then they should be arrested and then they should go. I mean, that's tortious interference, but by their actions, there were devastating consequences and reactions that affected Kate and Matthew. So I respectively, just please don't. It's like Disney World. It's like we're all waiting in line to go on the ride. You know, Melrose is the hottest place. Melrose is like Disney. And then all of a sudden, people just want to start jumping in front of the line because they want to get on the ride. Well, then what ends up happening? The ride gets overcrowded, and then it gets shut down. And then mayhem breaks loose. But I guarantee you, if something happens to one of the residents here in Melrose who signed that petition at the hands of a criminal, illegal, I would be like, well, you know, you signed for it. You wanted the status. Thank you.
My name is Scott Lefton. I live on Orient Avenue. I bought a house in Melrose with my wife 33 years ago. We've raised 3 children here. They've all come up through the public schools in Melrose. We love Melrose and are very happy to live here. And I just wanted to say that we also, at least I, not speaking for my wife, support the designation of sanctuary city. I did not necessarily do that before this evening, but having heard both sides speaking eloquently tonight, I know how I've made up my mind. And I do hope that you will do the right thing and the moral thing and put Melrose on the right side of history by designating it as a sanctuary city. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diane Horry, and I live on West Highland Ave. My husband was up speaking earlier, but I just wanted to make a couple of points that concern me. Everything here concerns me that's been said, but especially the fact that if we are considered a sanctuary city, we might lose federal funding. And if that happens, someone had spoken about it before, how are we going to make that up? The taxes are going to have to go up. These children that these illegal people have are going to be going to our Melrose public school systems. The schools that are overstretched already, with closed schools, we're putting in pods. I mean, so now we're going to increase that. Because they're not going to be really, if they're not educated and they're here illegally, they probably won't have these high-paying jobs. So they're going to end up getting like the sports, all these sports activities, they will have to go up. I mean, everything's going to go up. And so I just wanted to say that I am against it. And as far as this woman here who spoke over here, my father was murdered by an illegal alien who had been deported and came back. And he shouldn't have been here. And I'm not saying that all illegal aliens are criminals, but we are going to get our share here in Melrose. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Rosemary Ma. I live at 23 Lodge Avenue. I want to say we have a fine police force. And I totally disagree with this. From a safety and security place of, I think the last speaker mentioned, we don't know who's going to be here, who's going to feel it's an umbrella for illegal, whether they're criminal or not criminal, we won't know. And I feel by putting the risk of over $2 million at risk, if the president decides to withhold federal funds, that's what will happen. And who's left to make that up? I think the last person just said that. It will be us, the homeowners, not the illegals, not the churches, but the homeowners. So for my own safety and security, I called Boston to Mayor Walsh and said I will not be coming to Boston to eat or spend my money. I do not feel safe. I don't know who's around the streets. And they don't keep track, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Laura Cantor, South Ave. I'm a 24-year resident of Melrose, and I was one of the signers of the petition, and because I got a very nice letter from Mayor Dolan explaining the current operating practice of the city with regards to immigration, and that it is simply not to pursue or detain somebody solely on the basis of their immigration status. And that is consistent with what the petition requests. It is simply to formalize what is already the very good operating procedure of the city. And I think as a business person and as an administrator, good operating practice should be written into good operating procedure. And with that, I fully support the petition. Thank you.
My name is Tara Pope. I live in Woodcrest Drive in Melrose. I wasn't going to talk tonight. I was just coming to listen, but I think after listening to everything, I just had one quick thing to say. I don't support it being a sanctuary city. Not that I'm not welcoming of everyone. I honestly want my son to grow up somewhere where it's diverse and learn different cultures. I have no problem with that. But I come back to what a lot of people have said. This actual petition is about protecting people that are illegal in this country. So if they don't get caught doing something wrong, we're not going to bother them, and I think that's exactly how it should be. I have a friend who has a husband who for a while was illegal in this country, but he had a business. He was supporting the community. He never did anything wrong, and I think that was okay. He's now since become legal. I think the problem is that right now this country is in a place where everybody wants it to be a line about race or immigration or things like that, and I just believe that we shouldn't need to put a political term around it. If the police department and everybody's already doing this the way that everyone thinks we should be doing it, we should just continue doing that. I don't think we need to make it a political fact to get everybody riled up. I think it will divide the city in a big way. And I just feel that people need to just take a step back, not make it a bigger issue about race, and just make it about what it is. If you do something wrong, you commit a crime, you get caught, you're not supposed to be here, you go home. If you commit a crime and you are supposed to be here, you're going to go to jail. So it's just, that's just the way I think it should work. So I do not support this petition for that reason.
My name is Maria Martin. I live on Altamont Ave in Melrose. I've lived here for 12 years. I'm raising 3 boys here, and I just think, why fix something that isn't broken? I've sat here and listened to everybody say how they love Melrose, they love being a part of the city, the culture, and yet you want to place this label on it for no reason. And I'm so opposed. I just can't even say how against it I am.
Hello, my name is Stuart Lanier. I live here on Main Street. Yeah, no, this has been a very rich experience hearing these eloquent speakers here this evening. I think a couple of points that I would like to try to add to the conversation are that there's no argument that the immigration system of our country is desperately broken, and that our country has actually created economic incentives for many, many people to come here apart from the actual legal process. And the way the current system works is the people who employ them are not sought out. It's these vulnerable people who actually are probably, in most cases, fleeing some kind of desperate economic circumstance to come to a better place, that are the people that we're talking about. And I want to say that if Melrose's aspirational statement is one city open to all, then there's always going to be a growing edge to that. And that's going to involve doing something other than just reinforcing the comfort of the people who are already here. And so if we want to learn and discover what it means to be open to all, then I think it's very important that we listen to people that are already, who are not most welcome right now. We've heard from 2 or 3 of those folks here tonight, and I find it actually quite disturbing that there are others who are a part of the comfort zone of Melrose coming and saying, we're open to all, and yet there are some people of color who have spoken and said, it doesn't really always feel open to all. And so I think if you wanted to really learn and understand what it means to be a community that is open to all, then there ought to be a safe space to ask people who are vulnerable what it's like to be in this community. So that would be a recommendation. There's some other statements that have been made that are to the effect of this designation being protective of criminals. It is my understanding that there's nothing in the statement that would protect a criminal. There's no commitment there that would protect a criminal. It's basically validating what is already in practice. And so in effect, folks who are saying that this would protect criminals and make possible violent crime, that's actually disparaging the current practice. And this proposal is simply to validate the current practice. Another statement has been made to the effect that, and it almost seems to be an assumption among many, that there'd be a loss of federal funds. I'm not sure that that's the case, because I believe there have been rulings to the effect that the federal government cannot require local entities to enforce its laws or its policies. And so the withholding of funds to a community that refused to do that, I think, would be unconstitutional, but I am not a lawyer. So I would strongly ask you to be, as you have been, others have appealed to you, to step up to this really moment in history that we're in right now. I think it really is a time in history in which many people, us as individuals and in our own daily lives, in our work, and in the community, where we're going to more and more have to step up and actually not be the milquetoast, wishy-washy, nice folks that Martin Luther King Jr., as was quoted earlier, said were actually the worst problem that he dealt with was the folks who were actually just kind of like wanting everybody to be nice when actually it was time for folks to step up for the sake of justice. Thank you. I'm in favor of the petition.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Mike Stankovich. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I feel compelled to do so. I've been in Melrose for about 4 years. I have a three-year-old son. I have my own practice in Melrose. I'm an attorney. And I've heard good points made, and I don't dismiss the opposition to the petition. However, I haven't heard anyone talking that's opposing the position saying they want a policy that's different in this city. And so this issue isn't about changing the current policy. The issue is about fostering a community where the individuals who are already here feel appreciated. And I don't see how unless there's an opposition that's going to have a deportation force that's going to remove these people, anyone who's here is illegally is still going to stay here. So as a community, I think it's our responsibility to lift people up. And if people are going to be here, we might as well create and foster an environment where we can empower people, especially people who are of diverse talents, who are unique, who don't fit the traditional mold of Melrose. I want my son to walk down the street and appreciate everyone for being a human, not looking at someone assessing whether they're illegal or not legal. And I think in order to cultivate that type of atmosphere, this petition needs to be supported. I've heard people talk about fears and anxieties, and I'm reminded of a statement I've heard and I use all the time in my life. It's, if you're not acting out of love, you're acting out of fear. And I don't think fear has been or ever will be a reason to act. I just go back to all the times in history where there were pivotal moments of whether to be inclusive or not, whether it was with the civil rights in African Americans, and history judged the people that were inclusive. Years ago, when the debate was on gay marriage, again, it came to fruition that people that were inclusive were the ones that ultimately society gravitated towards. And for me, this issue is very clear cut. I think that we have a duty and obligation to protect those most vulnerable around us. And no one's suggesting that anyone that's illegal is going to be deported. So let's create an atmosphere where these people that are here feel empowered and can share their talents and uniqueness. And I think that's a community that everyone would like to be in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Orla Duffy. I live in Park Street. I actually came here tonight to listen, but felt compelled to speak up in opposition to this. I guess I don't really fit the bill to oppose it, as I am an immigrant, but I'm proud to sit here tonight and say I'm not an American citizen, and I'm proud of that. But I just feel like this could become more to split people in this community up more, as what I think we've seen tonight. I'm also concerned about losing funding. Our schools are already, we're putting pods in. I'm also concerned about the funding that it might take to teach kids with English as a second language. And economically, that's a big concern of mine. But I just wanted to say tonight I'm opposed to it. Thank you.
How's everybody doing? My name is Pete Navarra, Crescent Ave,
And real quick, I have a vocal cord issue, so if I'm not loud enough, sorry about that. I'm here in support of the spirit of this petition. Whether we call it sanctuary city, I'm in favor of that, but I do think that that's a trigger word for a lot of people. As you've seen here, I think I've heard 3 different definitions of sanctuary city. In hindsight, when I look over what's happening across our state, there's legislation currently going on called the Massachusetts Safe Communities Act, that a lot of communities that are trying to figure out what their designation is are starting to look at and possibly follow. I'm looking at that as a potential compromise for the situation that we're looking at here. I am in support of not discriminating against your religion, where you come from. If you're walking down the street and wearing a hijab, I mean, I don't expect the police to just pull you over and start looking at your credentials. I also support that if you're breaking the law, regardless of whether you're a citizen or not, or an illegal or not, that due process should take hold. And if that means Chief Lyle arresting somebody, and then that turns out to be that they need to be deported, that's the case. But if you're not breaking the law, I don't think you should necessarily be pulled over just because of the way you look, your religion, or anything like that. I do support that Melrose is a safe community, and I support that we are one community open to all. Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak before we close the public portion of the hearing?
Hi. Good evening. My name is Robert Alfiero. I am Melrose resident, 425 Lebanon Street in Melrose, Ward 6. I had emailed the Board of Aldermen this past weekend. I have some concerns about the sanctuary city. I think that while it's wonderful that we should continue to welcome people here, we should know who is here and we should maintain law and order. So I would just urge this body to exercise caution before they move forward. And that's all I have to say about this issue.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name's Ted Cummings, I live at 93 Howard Street. I'm just here to voice my opposition to this for a couple of reasons. We could spend all night. Nobody on this side of the room or that side of the room is going to settle the immigration issue here tonight, and no one's going to convince someone else or change their mind over that issue. So to me, it's really not about immigration, it's about the law. So I heard someone say earlier, what kind of a community do we want to live in? Well, do we want to live in a community that we abide by the law, or we don't? Even immigrants want to know what the law is and that they're protected. Everybody should be treated the same. That's what I hear everybody saying, that we should be treated equally. Now, I could be wrong, but isn't the woman holding the scales of justice, isn't she blindfolded? She's blindfolded for a reason. We're supposed to get equal treatment under the law, not special treatment under the law. Now, I feel bad, the woman that spoke earlier, that her son, somebody made a stupid comment to him on the playground. Kids have been making stupid comments to each other on playgrounds as long as they've been playgrounds. There isn't a person in this room that somebody didn't say something offensive to them, including myself, on the playground. You're not going to change that. You can write whatever you want, you can put whatever signs on the Fellsway that you want. That's not going to change. That's just kids being kids. It's wrong. I don't condone it. If I heard a kid, and I've done it myself, if I see a kid picking on a kid in front of Rite Aid, I've told them, hey, knock it off. It's not right. I don't think there's anybody in this room that would say we support that. Yeah, we want people being picked on, but that's not what we're here talking about. We're either going to obey the law or we're not going to obey the law. And so it really comes down to a couple of things for me. When you make one group special, you make someone else less special. It's the yin and the yang, whatever you want to call it, the universe. Everything equals out. So for every person you think you're going to make comfortable and feel good, you're making someone else uncomfortable and not feel good. So what are you really accomplishing? You're not accomplishing anything in the big scheme of things except inflaming the community, turning neighbor against neighbor. It's already happened without even doing this. You want to talk about splitting families apart, I hear the argument all the time, we shouldn't be splitting up families. You got families that are living together that are being split up over these issues. So what's the difference? If you split up this person or that person, we're still divided. So who are you helping? So you can't treat one person special and without taking away and making somebody else less special. And the last comment I would make is that the people that I've talked to that are opposed to this, it has nothing to do with race or this, that, or feeling guilty about making a good living and living in a nice community. I don't feel bad that I've made a good living and bought my house and paid my taxes. I don't feel bad for that for 1 minute. If this guy wants to sell me his house at a little bit of a discount when he's ready, I'm happy to buy it. Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't make me a bad person, okay? So we need to stop all the, everyone who's in support of this, I always hear them saying we need to stop putting labels on people and this and that. Everyone that's come up here in support of it, not everybody, but some, the tone of the racism and this, it's got nothing to do with it. The people that I've talked to don't want this because they don't think it's right that you feel, and whether it's reality or not, it's how people feel. That's what this is all about. This woman feels unsafe. This person feels disenfranchised. That's what we're really talking about, is how people feel. So if we're going to divide us up around the city, that these are the people that are for it, and these are the person that are against it, the next step is who's going to be the moral judge and gets to decide that your feelings are more important than yours. This woman has problems. Her problem happens to be immigration. I got problems of my own. You've got problems. You've got problems. Everybody in this room has a problem. We could all come up here and we could have 953 laws to keep us all. You can't live like that. We have to live one nation under the law, and the law applies to all of us. So I just think that's what it is. And so there was a woman here earlier that left that said that, over the last couple of years, someone yelled out the window at her because she looked different. Or this woman's being treated differently because she doesn't look like the other people. You want to see an escalation of that? Pass this order. Because as soon as you start making people feel like, maybe it has nothing to do with race. Maybe it's that people feel like you got something special that I didn't. After I worked my whole life, paid my taxes, did everything I was told I was supposed to do, obey the law, stay out of trouble, keep my yard clean. I'm nice to my neighbors. What more do you want? That's what this is about. So you can't fly, this just flies in the face of people that put their head down and worked every single day for 30 or 40 years. They thought they were living by the law. They were told we're supposed to obey the law. And then all of a sudden you don't have to obey the law if you're in this little special group. So if you want those people to really feel ostracized and not welcome to a community, single them out as people that got something special that nobody else got. Because that's exactly what's going to happen to them. So you're not going to make anything better. It's going to make things worse. This isn't going to help anybody. This is only going to make a few people feel good, and if the other side of the room is going to feel just as bad. So we're still on the scale. Nothing is going to change. So this is the equivalent of hanging up a sign. We could take the sign down on Fellsway and we'll just say, I'm a really good person. Put that sign up. So instead of doing that to everybody, how about we just let the 223 people that signed this, they're welcome, put a sign in your yard that says, I'm a really good person. Problem solved. That's all I have to say.
I feel very emotional right now, and I hope I can hold myself together. I can't imagine trying to diminish the child's experience of being, of having their identity defamed in such a way in this city, and that it is taken as, oh, kids just do that to each other. We are all adults in this room, and adults are to set the tone of our society for our children. And we are supposed to be making it clear what is moral and what is the way we want to live, and to just say that a child who gets insulted by other children, that's okay, and
Okay, let's have order in the chamber, please. We've had a very respectful discussion this evening. Let's not let it let's not deteriorate at this point. Okay, we're going to have one person speaking at a time. Ma'am, you have the floor.
But my point is that it is important for us as citizens of Melrose to set the tone for our city so that there is an understanding of what we hold dear. And to me, I want to believe that every person in this city will be respected, will feel safe. I'm a member of the LGBT community, and one of the reasons that I felt safe in living in Melrose was because of an action that was taken in this city just a few years ago, and that there was very visibly taking a stand to be inclusive of the LGBT community. That made me feel good to move into this community. And I feel the same in terms of people of other difference, that they can feel good about living in a community that respects and admires difference. And I know we have this wonderful city motto that is not in my head right now. Thank you. Open to all. And yet, this is not to discredit the people sitting in this honorable chamber right now at these honorable desks. I've been in this room a couple of times, and when I look around this room, I really wonder about that motto. Is it open to all? And not to say that these wonderful people don't have a wonderful reason to be on a wall. But if this is this chamber to make that feeling of acceptance and inclusion that we all want people to feel in this community. My name is Ellen Ruthstrom. I live at 15 Vine Street.
So this is a little daunting to be here in front of everybody. I'm sure it is for other people. I've heard people today with tears in their voice. I can feel what is happening on both sides. And I just feel like for me, this has been a very difficult decision. Oh, and by the way, my name is Crystal Dawn. Forgot that part. So this has been a very difficult decision for me to say I oppose or I support, because whether you say the word illegal or whether you say the word legal, we are talking about people. But at the same time, I have to say that I oppose this, oppose Melrose becoming a sanctuary city, because I want to think about the Melrose residents first. Now, there was someone who spoke earlier about other people who mentioned defunding, and that may not be a reality. But what I'm thinking of is it could very likely become a very real possibility. And if it does become a possibility, then what programs are going to be cut? I'm a veteran. Are veterans' benefits going to be cut? Elder services, the hospital, the local hospital, tax is going to be increased. I mean, those are the things that I think of, and I think those are the things that a lot of other people think of. So as hard as it was for me to come to this decision, that's the decision that I came here to say to Mayor Dolan. I'm not sure exactly where he is, and the other elected officials. So there you have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lisa Burns. I live at 241 West Emerson Street. I've lived in Melrose for 10 years. I moved here with my husband after we got married. We have 3 young kids in the elementary schools here. I am opposed to making Melrose a sanctuary city. There's a couple reasons for that. I think, first of all, we have laws. They need to be enforced. I think the Melrose police chief and the team do a great job keeping our city safe. I think they need to know who's in the city to be able to do their jobs, and I think they need to have the flexibility to enforce the laws as they see fit. Second, we talked about, it's been mentioned a number of times, that there's a possibility of losing some public funding. As a parent with kids in the school system, that is certainly not a risk that I think our city can afford to take, even if it's not a definitive, yes, we're definitely going to lose funding, or no, we're not. I don't think it's a risk we can take. I go to the PTO meetings and I see parents, working hard to raise money for extra programs for our schools. The schools are on a tight budget, enrollment's increasing. People thought that the schools were underfunded. We had a override that did not pass. I think being called a sanctuary city, could just exacerbate the funding problem as well, on top of losing federal funding. So for these reasons, I'm opposed.
My name is Beth Hampson. I live at 45 Harold Street. And this is clearly a really challenging topic at a really challenging time in our nation, where we are divided in so many ways around so many issues. And for me, it comes down to where we are in this moment in history. It seems to me that we're at a pivotal time in this moment, where people are being othered, singled out for how they look, where they come from, who they worship. And I really feel that we have a moral responsibility to stand up for those people being othered in our country. And so I am in support of being a sanctuary city. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you for your time, sir. And I know it's late, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm a resident of Melrose here, a town which my husband and I love very much. Grew up in Methuen, which is near Lawrence, and that town certainly went downhill. Oh, sorry. Sorry, sir. Good evening, sir. Thank you for your time. I'm a resident of Melrose, a town which my husband and I love very much. We don't support Melrose being a sanctuary city. Why? Is it not illegal for undocumented immigrants to be here? If an officer wants to check if someone is here legally, why not? Isn't it only to protect the country, even from terrorists as well? Is it to protect all of us for something which I'm for, if to protect us? What's sad is how I've heard how many people have died from someone here legally. That's very sad, and that is the point with it being legal. I'm all for one nation, everyone together. We're all human beings under God. We're all the same. We're all one person. If you make it a sanctuary city, what happens when someone dies from that illegal alien again? Explain that to the family. What if it happened to yours? Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. Could you state your name, please, ma'am?
Oh, sure, sorry. Michelle McIntyre. Thank you.
Hello, my name is David McLaughlin Jr. I live on Cedarwood Lane. I'm a born and raised Melrose resident. I've lived here my entire life, all wonderful 31 years, and it's been fantastic. I'll keep this short and sweet in respect to everybody's time here. I think my father earlier spoke to almost all the points that I would have brought up, so I just wanted to take the chance and say that I'm strongly opposed to this, and I would urge you not to pass this.
Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken who would like to speak before we wrap this portion of the meeting up? Okay, Alderman Inferno has made a motion to conclude the public hearing. Motion is seconded by Alderman Forbes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Before we move on behalf of the board, I would like to thank everybody who spoke tonight. For the most part, this was a very thoughtful and respectful discussion, and it's much appreciated by the Board of Aldermen.
How does it move forward now?
The order is before you. What's your pleasure?
We have a motion to suspend the rules to bring the chief forward, please.
Second.
Alderman McAteer Margolis moves to suspend the rules to hear from Chief Lionel. Motion is seconded by Alderman Mortimer. On the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Good evening.
Thanks.
As brief as I possibly can. Certainly, everybody received the letter that I sent out today electronically. I think that a lot of that has already been explained tonight. I will certainly fill you in on the practices of the police department, what we do currently. I've been a police officer nearly 31 years. In my 31 years, there's been one incident involving myself as a supervisor dealing with the clearinghouse in Vermont. I don't know their exact name, but it's a clearinghouse for immigration, customs. And I was asked to hold a detainer on someone, and we had someone under arrest for a charge. And I told them that everybody that is under arrest in Massachusetts or in the Melrose Police Department is subject to bail. So rest assured the folks in the audience here that anybody that's arrested by the Melrose Police is subject to bail no matter what the charge is. And then it's up to a bail commissioner to set that charge or no bail. So then, back to that incident, and I basically told them, at that point, I said, listen, this guy's getting bailed in an hour. You want to take him? Come take him. If not, pick him up in Malden Court tomorrow morning. That's the only incident in 31 years for me. So as far as our practices in the Melrose Police Department, we have no authority. This is Lyle's project, sorry. We have no authority to basically enforce federal immigration law. It's a civil action, it's a federal civil action, and I have no authority. My officers have no authority. The Melrose Police Department has no authority to enforce that. Number one. I can give you multiple examples if you'd like as far as some incidents or some scenarios that you would like. I'm here for fact-finding only, so please fire away.
Okay, do we have any questions, comments, or discussion? Alderman Boisel.
In the petition, in the first activity, there's a couple words I'd like to get a little definition from in the aspects of a individual who's been arrested and fingerprinted through this process. If it comes up as an immigration detainer and versus the administrative warrant, which one would hold that individual in your control?
If it's a civil action, we have no authority to hold that person. If it involves clearly a felony or a federal crime other than a civil, certainly we could hold that person temporarily until they made arrangements. But let's first and foremost, that person has to be in our custody for anything to occur. So if somebody was involved in an armed robbery and they were under arrest, and when we process that person in our booking room, every single person that goes to the Melrose Police Department under arrest is fingerprinted. That generally triggers any type of federal action at that point.
it goes out nationwide. So if somebody's wanted in California for something, it'll show. If there's a detainer, if there's any type of a federal action, that'll also come up because it goes to the FBI, Homeland Security, immigration, so on and so forth. So to answer your question, if it's a civil action, we have no authority. If it's a federal action for a federal crime, certainly they would be calling us and saying, we're coming immediately to pick you up, pick her up or him up, or whatever it may be.
So the administrative or the immigration detainer is an optional holding, while the administrative warrant would actually keep that individual in custody.
We have no authority if it's a civil action. And when I say that civil, I don't know what the warrant is, so I really can't define it. If
Well,
it's-
wouldn't the administrative warrant, when you receive it, indicate the type of crime that was a felony of any
Well,
sort?
it's certainly if
I'm
it-
not a
if it's
lawyer here, so I'm just trying to
nor
get
am
the
I.
facts
If
here.
it's a capital crime, certainly we're gonna hold a person, but if it's a civil action, we don't have the authority. That person is subject to bail, just like anyone else that's in our custody.
But if that individual went to the bailing the following morning, and the aspects of a detainer versus a warrant would have an effect on the bailing process?
That's up to the bail commissioner. They set the bail, so it takes it off. It's an independent person, so there's a bail fee, a basic fee of $40, and it goes up. If they deem the person a dangerous individual to society, they'll say no bail. We're gonna hold that person till the next court date. The next morning, a Friday, it would be Monday. On a holiday, it would be a Tuesday. And that's the way it goes.
So the administrative warrant has a little more edge to the,
It depends on what that actual warrant's for.
Yeah.
So if it's a civil, obviously, we have no authority to hold that person.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you,
President.
Alderman Zwerko.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Chief, for being here tonight.
Oh, you're welcome.
Question, if my house was broken into and the assailant was later captured, and that assailant was an illegal immigrant, what would happen?
Well, if the person was
Currently.
under arrest, if there was a criminal charge against that individual, the person would be processed by the Melrose Police Department. We would find out any federal action during the booking process, which when the individual is fingerprinted, we would get an alert or a phone call. They would say, we'd like to hold that person, you know, and then we always explain that, you know, that person's subject to bail, so on and so forth. And, you know, they give you a period of time to come down and retrieve them. We could have somebody in our cells for, you know, an armed robbery, and there's a detainer on that person, and immigration, ICE comes down, they could take that person out of the cell. We have no control over that. But if that person's subject to bail, they may be bailed, depending on what the bail commissioner says. They could pick that person up that night, or they could go to, you know, Malden District Court in the morning and retrieve that person.
And Chief, what would happen if this order, this petition passed tonight and the same scenario happened tomorrow?
The same process would take place.
And I have a question now. It may be difficult to answer. It's really an economic question. I understand that we received a letter, Customs
Yes, I did.
Agency.
I brought it. I don't have copies, but I can certainly scan it and send it to everybody.
And could you summarize the contents of that letter, and then also discuss if we were to employ the practices requested in that letter, what those costs would be?
I can give you a basis. The letter is dated February 20th, directed to me from U.S. Customs Border Patrol in Boston, asking us if we wanted to participate in their program to assist them in holding detainees. This part I find funny, up to 12 to 24 hours. And that may or may not occur. At a cost of about $99 a day, we would get reimbursed. And the overtime for me, in a 12-hour period, round numbers, is about $1,200. It's not a good financial decision on that alone.
It's about $1,000 a day.
Yes, and the liability when we house detainees, it's a big concern for us. We generally make 15 to 20-minute rings on our prisoners to make sure that they're okay and nothing changes of their mental state or their physical state while they're down in our cell block.
In my understanding, Chief, and you might not be able to answer this, but the variations of that letter, or copies of that letter, were also sent to other police departments in the greater Boston area as well as Boston.
Yes.
And are we planning?
I have talked to some of my fellow chiefs, and not one agency has gone on board that I know of.
I also just want to say I appreciate the work that you and the men and women of the police department do. I think we live in a safe community, and I know you guys work very, very hard to treat everyone here with the utmost respect, regardless of any creed, religion whatsoever. I know you do a lot of community outreach every month with members of the community. You have open meetings. You live here in Melrose. I believe you graduated from Melrose High.
Yes, I did. The first one of that old high school.
Congrats.
1976, yes.
Just wanted to say thank you for that. Those are all the questions I had for the chief at this time, Mr. President. Thank you.
I have Alderman Wright next, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief, you've described the process that we have, which is basically reflected in this petition. I just want to make sure everyone understands what you'll do in certain circumstances. If ICE issues a detainer request on an individual who has an outstanding criminal warrant, will you detain the person?
In a criminal action?
Yes.
If it's a criminal action, certainly, because certainly the reason we fingerprint everybody, I'm going to go off a little bit here. The reason we fingerprint anybody, God forbid, I would never want to see a criminal that violated somebody's rights or a serious felony in any part of the country to let go free. I'll use a sex offender. We certainly don't want to let a sex offender from any other part of this country go free that is wanted in another state. That is why. I would say, yes, we would be holding that person.
And if you were to arrest somebody for a serious crime, would you honor an ICE detainer?
There would be another police action to even get to that level. So there would be some other type of action for us to even find out what that individual was wanted for by immigration. So there would be an armed robbery, there'd be something. Right? There could be a suspended license, a motor vehicle accident, a drunk driving. There'd have to be some type of.
Oh, yeah, no, that's how you arrest them.
Yes,
You
well, we would have
arrest
to
them for a
process them.
serious crime, whatever that serious crime may
Yes.
be. If that occurs, would you then detain them for ICE? If you had a detainer request?
Yes, there would be a combination because of the action that they cause in the city of Melrose.
Okay, and if that person was a registrant on the Massachusetts Sex Offender Registry?
There'd be a difficult question because I don't think they'd be walking the streets anyways.
Okay, but if they were?
That would be unique. Yes, certainly we would hold that person.
Okay, and if they're on a terrorist watch list?
That's a whole different ballgame, but yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Alderman Maderos.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. I wanted to mention, I had emailed you last Friday, and you responded asking, in fact, if how many times an officer or employee of the Melrose Police Department has arrested or detained an individual solely on the basis of a civil immigration detainer or administrative warrant, and how many times has an officer or employee of the Melrose Police Department continued to detain an individual solely on the basis of a civil immigration detainer or an administrative warrant once that individual has been released from local custody. And I kind of went through that to read it because that is the language that's in this petition to make Melrose a sanctuary city.
Yes.
And you did answer me, Chief, but if you could
You want me to
answer me
yes.
again.
So I went through our records management system, which is basically a computer system. I went back 5 years, I found 0. So then I went back 10 years and I found 0. And I said, I felt there was no point to go back any further. I could go back probably 18 or 19 years, and then our records management system went to the old pen and paper, which would be a daunting task. But I think the answer is 0.
So what this petition seeks to do is not happening in Melrose right now.
No.
And it hasn't happened in the last 10 years that we have record of.
I would say probably even further back. I would comfortably say in 20 years, 25 years. I would have heard about something like this through Melrose Police Department as a small agency. I would have heard about it.
And if we pass or don't pass this, we're not going to stop cooperating with the federal government. Is that?
No, I have an officer now assigned to the DEA task force for a reason, because it's a force multiplier for the Melrose Police Department if we're doing an investigation for drugs, and which is, it's an epidemic in New England right now, in Massachusetts, in Melrose, it's everywhere. So yes, I have a working relationship with them, the FBI in Chelsea now, the new offices in Chelsea, certainly.
Okay, and of course, we support the safety and maintain the safety of our residents. And I know you described a little bit about the process of, how things go, and I think you just went through some of it with Alderman Wright.
Yes.
But if nobody's being pulled over, or hopefully not if they go 26 miles an hour, but nobody's being pulled over randomly because to check their immigration status or anything like that, as a current practice, or being stopped to check immigration status.
I will say the same thing that I said to the reporter over there on her computer. I asked her, and she was in my office a couple of weeks ago, could you tell me what an illegal alien looks like? And she looked at me very puzzled, right, Jen? And I let her off the hook, and I said, it looks like everybody else in this room. So we could not do that effectively.
And if somebody does get arrested, and to be detained, you have to basically be arrested or taken under protective custody, because you.
Well, either or. There has to be a police action for us to even get to that next level. And when we start doing, the booking process is the same for somebody that is arrested or in a protective custody, somebody that has consumed too much alcohol. They are still processed the same way. Obviously, the end result is they get to walk out when they sober up, some 12 hours later, up to 12 hours later.
And you explained to me that process is that everybody is fingerprinted.
Everybody is fingerprinted because, as I said to Alderman Wright, we do not want to let someone go that does not belong on the streets.
And so they go through a system, and they're checked on a national database.
Yes.
Fingerprinted. And if somebody is not here legally and does have a civil warrant or anything like that, the federal government is alerted that they are there in the Melrose Police Department.
Well, we would say to them is that every person that's arrested by the Melrose Police Department is subject to bail. There's an independent person who's going to hear the facts surrounding this case or arrest, and that person's going to make a determination whether the bail is $40, which is, they call it a personal, or no bail.
Right. But the federal government would be alerted that that person is in the Melrose Police Department, has been
Just by the
arrested.
fingerprints alone.
Just by the fingerprints alone.
Just by the fingerprints.
And would there be any way to stop the federal government from being alerted that that person was there?
Not when they're fingerprinted. You don't turn back from fingerprints, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No reason.
In order to use the database, we
Yes.
basically have to.
Generally, when an officer stops a motorist anywhere for any violation, they run the plate, they run the owner first. We want to know who's driving the vehicle, so we run the owner status of the vehicle.
Okay,
And then the next step is when we introduce ourselves to the operator, when
And
you're
so-
going
and-
26.
Right. Warning, don't speed. We would run somebody through. The federal government might be alerted. They can choose whether or not to take action to
That's
pick that
entirely up
person
to them.
or not.
To contact us, say, hey, we want to hold that person, we want to come and take that person.
And if we wanted to not communicate with the federal government that that person was there, then we wouldn't really be able to fingerprint them.
We would not be telling the
We
truth if
wouldn't.
we told them that, yes.
Yeah, and we wouldn't know whether they did have a criminal history or a civil history if we didn't fingerprint them.
Well, when you fingerprint somebody, we
Well,
do
I
it.
didn't run it through a
We
system.
run a simple name and a date of birth will give you pretty much anybody's criminal history. So we'll know your driving record by your name and date of birth.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman McAteer Margolis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Chief, for being here and for reassuring us of the great job that your officers do. But just in terms of going forward, you did send us a letter today, you emailed us, and you spoke to kind of implementing this policy that's been codified. And can you just talk a little bit about what you're doing going forward with your officers to make sure that everybody's on the same page and that, not that there seems to be any doubt, but just so
I'll
that.
say this, that last year, Lieutenant Norton is my primary accreditation manager for the Melrose Police Department, and we're going to put some additional layers in there so there's more eyes on our policies and procedures as we go forward. So they may pick up something that I picked up recently on one of our policies, that there's other eyes on looking at to make sure that, all our, Ts are crossed and our Is are dotted. General terms, no typos. We do have 2 policies that we have created relative to immigration. One is an immigration policy, which basically follows up the past practice that we've been using for many, many years. And then another one that came about, which is, it may be interesting some of the folks in the audience, that it's called U-Visa. And this was an act that was done not long ago by the federal government, where somebody that has questionable immigration status in this country and is a victim of a serious crime, a felony, with a petition, they can get an extended visa for up to 4 years. And also, if it's a cooperating witness in a federal capital crime, they also can get an extended visa. I would say that it applied to Melrose as far as victims of domestic violence, and Melrose is a very, very welcoming community as far as victims of domestic violence.
And so, Chief, that would kind of create a little bit more of a safety net for people who might be here with an expired visa or might be concerned about coming forward.
Well, my big concern about this whole thing today is, and I think one speaker touched on it, that I would be concerned that some person has and I'm using the word questionable immigration status, and I'll leave it at that, a questionable immigration status. They see crimes going on in their neighborhood, their housing, wherever they're living, and they're afraid to come forward. And so those crimes are going to continue because that person's going to live in fear. Somebody else mentioned about the fear of crime is worse than crime itself. And that bothers me, that folks will not be coming forward to assist the police department in quelling that crime in their neighborhood. That's my big concern. And I think with different segments in our community, I think the Melrose Police has reached out to those folks as best we can. Certainly our door's open. My office door's open any day. I did get a lot of emails and correspondence from residents as far as this subject tonight.
Do you have any thoughts on how you, as the chief and as a department might follow up? As, we know that you do a lot of community policing already, as Alderman Zwerko mentioned, and certainly with your neighborhood meetings and meetings at schools. Is there anything that you can think of that, this board could support you with, or the Human Rights Commission, or to make people who don't feel safe feel safer? Is there any, other than the things that you're doing in codifying?
I talked to Adam from the Human Rights Commission. He could not attend tonight, but he and I had a brief conversation. And I said, we generally suspend our community meetings for the summer because I don't want to be there by myself. So, and there's a couple aldermen that know that. But the meeting in May, I said, why don't we open it up to anybody that wants to talk about community relations in our community at the May meeting. That's fine with me. I will not be available for the April one. I will be away on a quasi-vacation with a group of 11 guys. We do our annual trip. I've already said too much because they're probably watching at home, and I'll get it tomorrow.
Too much information.
But anyway, so this month's meeting, since we're talking about it, unfortunately, is about drugs again. We're having a Narcan training next Wednesday night. It's open to anybody in the community from 6 to 8 o'clock, and I have 50 doses of Naxalone, or more commonly known as Narcan, donated to the Melrose Police Department. We're going to give out that night. So please spread the word, and we'd love to see everybody go, and I don't want to take any of that back with me. But anyway, so back to your subject, and I had to put a plug in. It was going in now or later. Our May meeting would be a great meeting that anybody that's welcome that wants to talk about relations, how we can improve them, certainly. There was one speaker that came up tonight. She wants to assist us with social media. She's an attorney. She's a local attorney. I won't mention her dad's name because many folks on the board know who her father was.
It's nice to see the next generation following in the
yes, and I would
service
think
of
that
their predecessors.
the president knew the father very well as well.
Yes, Yes. No, but I mean, I think we saw tonight, and I want to just comment on the level of civility, which I think was outstanding, and certainly harkens back to the days of Mayor Guerrero 20-plus years ago, when he decided that we were going to try to have a more civil community. And I think this is a good start, and I think whatever you can do as a leader of public safety in the community to assure people on both sides, because we have people who are certainly here as legal immigrants, who are, don't necessarily feel safe, and we have people who have been here all their lives, who, because of the stories they hear, they don't feel safe. So I think it's an issue that we do need to address, and I'm sure that you and your team can help us figure out ways to do that.
I will say this, that the Melrose Police Department is another resource for this community.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Further discussion. Alderman Forbes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I read your letter a couple of times before the meeting, and I just wanted to just single out a paragraph. As an initial matter, the policy the petition seeks to have adopted already exists as a long-standing practice in the Melrose Police Department. In fact, this practice has been in existence for several decades, at least to the time of my arrival in the force almost 31 years ago. Melrose officers are acutely aware of and are trained on the best practices for handling these types of situations, particularly given the sensitive issues involved. So whether or not this order passes or does not pass, your practice is not going to change. It's still business as usual in regards to how you're going to be able to handle situations on a day-to-day basis. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Further discussions? Okay, the order's before you. What's your pleasure?
Just a point of order, Mr. President.
What's your point of order, Alderman?
Because this is the method in which this came to us as a petition, is this is this petition open to amendment?
No. No, this is a citizen petition. We have no ability to modify a citizen petition.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Alderman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. President. And we've heard a lot of people speak on both sides of this very eloquently. I guess I find myself, as a lawyer, agreeing with a lot of what the lawyers said here, which is that the body of the petition reflects that which the police department is already doing. It's the term sanctuary city that engenders so much of a reaction. And that's on both sides, I think. But I think it's important for us to understand that, the petition is asking us basically to, as a city and as a police department, because it asks not that we pass an ordinance, but that the city have a policy, which I believe is what the chief is saying he is going to codify. And, the term sanctuary does mean a lot of different things in a lot of different places across this country. It comes to us from the Middle Ages, when sanctuary meant that no matter what heinous crime you may have committed or who you were fleeing from politically, you could seek shelter, you could seek protection in a church or a castle. And that's not what's happening here. That's why I asked the chief about all those different points. Chief, would you detain someone for ICE if there's a warrant, if there's a criminal arrest, if there's a sex offender, if there's someone's on a terrorist watch list? That's not going to occur. What we're really talking about here is language that's more akin to what the state of California passed in 2014, 3 years ago. And that's what they called the Trust Act. And people touched on it tonight, the chief just touched on it, which is, it's meant to engender trust. Trust so that if somebody is in our community as an immigrant legal or illegal, that they feel that they can safely call upon the Melrose Police, that if they're a victim of a crime or a witness of a crime, that they don't have to have fear that if I call the police and I hang around and the police show up and they want my identifying information because I'm the victim or because I'm the witness, that that's going to start a process that I'm going to somehow get caught up in a net and be deported. So I'd rather say nothing. I'll stay back. And because I didn't report the crime, that person who committed it, citizen, immigrant, illegal immigrant, legal immigrant, will still be in our community. I guess to me, I've heard a lot of people talking, and I understand where they're coming from, where they say, let's just leave things alone. Melrose is open to all, Melrose is welcoming, and things won't change if we just leave things alone. But things weren't left alone. This petition was filed. So the genie can't be put back into the bottle. We have to deal with this. And to me, this is a legacy issue. I agree with the gentleman who said, it doesn't matter what else we do as members of this board. Our children, our grandchildren, the people 100 years from now may look back as a matter of history as to what we do this evening. And it's unfortunate that what we've got before us has been labeled a sanctuary city, because that does mean a lot of different things. But if I look at the body of the language, the substance of what we're being asked to pass tonight, and when I say pass, we're not passing it as a law. I would offer it as a resolution that we resolve to support this petition as it reflects the actions set forth tonight also in the chief's letter, codifying a policy reflecting the present practice of the Melrose Police Department. Thank you.
Alderman Zwarko.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'd also like to say thank you to Alderman Wright. I think you raised some really, really good points there. This petition arrived to us. No member of the Board of Aldermen, brought this forward on their own. So this is what we have to make a dispositive motion on in one way or the other. I will say that for the last month, this issue has consumed most of my conversations with residents, conversations with my friends, conversations with family, conversations with coworkers, most conversations in the media. Melrose is not going to be immune to the issues that the cities and towns face. We're going to have these conversations. I actually think it's a good conversation that we've had tonight. I too want to echo the statements that I was really proud of everyone, and the points of view that they spread. I learned a lot. I spent 4.5 hours yesterday meeting with 2 people. I had some very difficult conversations with them, and about a week and a half ago, I finally started to coalesce around where I was going to be with this. And I know people it's late, but I really took a lot of time in this, and I just do want to say that, I didn't run for public service because I wanted to take an opinion on immigration status. Quite frankly, I thought I was going to be tinkering with a water bill. But, here we are. And one of the reasons I entered public service was because I was so sick and tired of everything being a win or a loss, especially when we're talking about people's lives. Instead, I wanted to bring more conversations to the process, conversations which often aren't taken contemporarily today. And I often speak with anybody at any time about anything. And I think it's important to do that. Understanding and conversing can actually create a solution here. So, anyways, we're here tonight to speak about this petition. As I've already stated, I've done things outside of this office that have been at either rallies or vigils in support of many of the issues that people feel concerned about or have fear of. I attend as many human rights committee events as possible. I think it's very important for us to practice what we preach. I know that many people in this room have done the same. I cannot support this petition as written, and I support, and for many reasons, mainly of which I am fearful that this will make us somewhat of a target. I'm also worried that members in our community will fear that this designation may actually do, in fact, more harm than it is intended to do. When you hear about Sanctuary City, that's the banner that gets thrown across, the sticker, and you know, it very well may be a headline tomorrow. I do agree with Frank Wright to a certain extent that you know, this is a legacy moment, but I also do think in the continual search for compromise that there is a way in which we can actually satisfy this. The fact of the matter is that sanctuary cities differ from city to city. Newton's a welcoming community, that's what they've passed. Beverly recently put out a declaration from their mayor. Quincy rejected it. Boston approved it, Somerville approved it. There's a patchwork going across the Commonwealth. There's a bill that sits before the Senate in Massachusetts right now. There's going to be a lot more activity on this. I think that there can be even more activity on this here in Melrose. It doesn't always need to come before this board. Changes don't always need to come from Congress. Changes can come from ourselves and how we act. In closing, should we reject this petition that was brought before us tonight, I would like to work with Alderman Wright, members of the community, on a resolution that speaks to what we as a community stand for and want to see amongst ourselves. But I cannot support this petition as written. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Alderman Inferno for the first time.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming here this evening, and for the people who worked hard to submit this resolution and bring it forward. I do believe in the people's right to have their voices heard. I also thank those that have come forward to speak this evening and sit here for a couple of hours. And I got to tell you, in my 19th year of serving on this Board of Aldermen, I have never had such an audience or had such long public participation. So I think it should be commended, and people are very brave to come out and speak their opinions no matter what side of the issue you have been on. As I worked my way through this, and it's been one that I've kind of been going back and forth with, I thought, and we did hear this tonight also from somebody of the public, some member of the public, what will change tomorrow morning if we pass this? Or, you know, and as we heard from Chief Lyle tonight, nothing really will change tomorrow morning or thereafter. We heard that what this petition is seeking already exists here in Melrose, and I'm very proud of that. This will not change the way Melrose will continue to do business. What it may do is harm our federal funding. While we have heard, you know, we don't know whether it will or not, you know what, keeping up with the news and what's happening down in Washington, you can't keep up with it on a minute-by-minute basis. So I think we have to keep in mind that the possibility could be there. I'm not going to take that chance and pass a resolution that the purposes already exist. We're already doing what's happening. Let's see. I wrote down all sorts of things here this evening. I believe in the functions, and I believe that the Melrose functions in the spirit of this resolution every day. We heard that this evening, and one of the things that I did hear from the public, and I actually, as people were speaking, I kind of thought to myself, people need to feel welcomed. I'm not quite sure if that's really what's before us this evening. I don't know where Sanctuary City and welcoming and the duties of the police all kind of tie in about feeling welcomed. So I think we're dealing with many issues here, and that kind of can happen. So I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything, but that's kind of what I've heard. So tonight, what the story is being told is, while there while people may have fears for their safety, that they should feel better that these conversations have taken place tonight and for the past probably several months, probably since November. And they should really feel good that these conversations have taken place, and in Melrose, in a very civilized way. Our Melrose police functions like this on an everyday basis. We should be very proud of that. So with that all being said, it's a long night, but I support the spirit of this resolution, but I will not be voting to support the resolution and for Melrose to become a sanctuary city. I do thank everybody who has come out and spoken this, but nothing will change. We will continue on and probably continue to make Melrose even better because of this evening. Thank you.
Alderman Forbes.
Thank you, Mr. President. First and foremost, I think we can all agree that any act of discrimination, prejudice, racism in our community, anybody who is arrested for acts like that should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I know we heard stories tonight. Some people have personal stories. I think everybody's in agreement, whether you're for this issue or against that issue. That's not tolerated in the city of Melrose. I don't think any city official here or anybody from the police department, anybody in this room, would disagree with that statement. We heard a lot tonight that Melrose is a open community to all. I know some people may not feel that way. But how do we get to a better place? How do we move Melrose in the right direction? We do a lot of things that are positive in this community. We have a lot of different groups. We have clergy groups. We have community involvement. In order for us to move forward, we need to practice kindness, compassion, and tolerance. We need to be inclusive. That's the way we move forward. And it's about people. So when I heard about the order tonight, it occurred to me that the maker of the order should be happy or content and satisfied that we're currently enforcing what's being requested in her petition. This is something the Melrose Police Department has done for the last 31 years, as stated by Chief Lyle. And it's only when we try to put labels and use certain terms when people become passionate to express their voice of support or opposition. I'm not a fan of labels. My personal opinion is I'm not in support of this order. It is a good dialogue. It's a dialogue we need to have moving forward. This is the first step in what I think are going to be many steps, but as the order is written tonight, I cannot support it. I think that the term sanctuary city is divisive, and I guess that's the way our politics is now. It's good versus evil. You plot one group against another group. We can have conversations, and we can try to move forward, and I hope that's what we can do at the local level. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? Alderman McAteer-Margolis for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm the daughter of an immigrant who came here when there were signs up that said, "No Irish need apply." And he worked very hard to overcome that. And regardless of maybe how welcoming this country was to him and made available opportunities to him, I think there were always times when his perception was that he wasn't wanted. So I understand how perception can be different for people who have come from a different reality. And I think that we need to acknowledge that. I also think that we, as immigrants, need to acknowledge that the people who are here have a different perception of what they're doing and how they are treating us and you. And I do think that the term sanctuary city is a very political football right now. I was happy to hear Attorney General Maura Healey last week talk about her office and their defense of people's rights, people's right to not be discriminated against, and her enforcement of that. So I think that we do have some safety nets in place, but I also think that, as Alderman Wright has said, this is sort of a legacy moment. And I think that Melrose, you know, when we want to say we're one community open to all, we want to walk the walk when we talk the talk. I don't expect that this order is going to pass, but I will say in my heart of hearts, I would like it to pass. I would like it to be able to be amended without the language sanctuary city. But since it can't be amended in that fashion, I also would be very happy to support a resolution that sets out the language that the Board of Aldermen feels comfortable supporting, that I think would satisfy the different factions of this community, so that people know and we can all be on the same page, that we can be respectful of each other, that we can be civil to each other, even if we don't always agree on every topic. With that in mind, if there is no one else left to speak, I would make a motion to just place this order on file, Mr. President.
Alderman McAteer Margolis is making a motion to place the order on file.
Second.
Point of order, I made a motion for a resolution. Is it
Oh, I'm
because it
sorry.
wasn't seconded?
Was that
I don't think a motion for resolution relative to this petition would be in order.
I guess I would ask that we table the matter then, so we can get a opinion from the city solicitor as to how this matter can move forward, or not, as the case may be.
Yeah, I mean, I would be of the opinion another order could be filed adopting a resolution. Okay, we have a motion that's just been made to place the order on file that's been seconded by Alderman Boiselle. Does the maker or the seconder want to remove their motion or second, or do you wish to proceed on the motion?
Mr. President, could we, did Alderman, just as a point of order, did Alderman Wright make that as a motion with a, was there a second to that?
No, you've made a motion
I
that's
made a
been
motion.
seconded. Alderman Wright has indicated that he would like to see the order tabled. I have to entertain your motion before I can entertain another motion, unless you wish to withdraw your motion and Alderman Boiselle wishes to withdraw his second.
But there would be a rule, but the chair would rule that a subsequent order would be in order after this meeting, subsequent to a resolution?
Well, it's the opinion of the chair that we cannot amend a citizen petition. That's the ruling of the chair.
I'll withdraw my motion.
You withdrawing your second, Alderman Boiselle?
No.
Okay, so the motion stands. Is there discussion on the motion to place the order on file? Alderman Maderos.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to just take a moment, too, to thank all the people who've come out to speak tonight, and to the many who wrote in to us, and of course, to those who brought this petition forward. And I think it's been a great exercise in public and civic involvement. It's certainly the largest crowd that I've seen, and the latest crowd that I've seen here. So thank you all for staying. Normally, people come and then take off, so. With that being said, you know, we're in a situation nationally and politically it's been very inflamed. And I think that this petition, whether it was intended to or not, just the term sanctuary city kind of follows suit with that. And it's a label that does mean many things to many different people. The language and the body of what is to actually be changed is not anything that's really being changed. Chief Lyle has, you know, pointed out to us that we have not had any such infractions or incidents of this in 20 years in Melrose. There's no authority for this Melrose Police to actually hold anybody on a civil warrant. And unfortunately, I think the heat of the national discussion has brought even some of the signers to have sort of a misunderstanding of what this petition would do. I think it also creates a misunderstanding from those who oppose it as to what it is, and it just exacerbates an already tense political situation that we're all trying to heal from and come back together again as a community after a tough election. So I just, we're going to take a vote today, and I think it's important to say that, I thank everybody for bringing this forward, but I don't support this right now. Thank you.
Alderman Lemmerman for the first time.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to take one moment to say that I appreciate Alderman Wright's efforts to see if this was something that could move forward, taking out the language of sanctuary city that was causing the issue. When I've looked at this issue, I've tried to look at it from two angles of both the goal that I understand it as stated in sort of making a statement as a community that we want to make, but then also from the lens of how this affects the police department and how they do their work, which is critical that we're supporting their ability to do their work. And I think from what I've been hearing, this is something that they're doing. I think it is important to make a statement. I think that I agree that the language as written has caused an issue, but that it is still important that we try to, in my opinion, I would like to support the spirit of this. So if a resolution later is introduced, I would happily support that. I would like to see it, though, see if there's an opportunity to still reach the goal through this particular order that was brought forth by residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, there's a motion that's been made and duly seconded to place this order on file. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, the order passes. The motion passes. The order will be placed on file. I think that concludes our business for this evening.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. President.
Second.
Alderman Mortimer moves to adjourn. Motion is seconded by Alderman Zwerko. The meeting is hereby adjourned.